Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is a podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. I'm happy to be part of the Laugh Factory podcast network. This is my 40th episode. I feel like it's some kind of milestone. I interviewed comedian Adam Burke. Adam is a regular on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. We talked about all sorts of things. We talked about nightmares, having accents, social media, breaking hearts, and coming to America. You can catch Adam at F Last Call at midnight on December 17th at Comedy Clubhouse in Chicago and the Aurora Roundhouse on December 22nd. For more info, please go to adamburkecomedy.com. That's Burke with an E at the end. And follow him on Twitter, Instagram, ATPBURKE, ATP Burke. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. Because we talked about one of my favorite quotes in the episode, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You, I'd like to recommend Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. Please remember, if you like the podcast, to rate and review on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Find out more on the website, sleepingwithsarah.com, and follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Well, let's get started with the show.
Sleeping with Sarah.
Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Adam Burke.
Hi.
How'd you sleep last night, Adam?
Good. I slept late. I had some weird dreams. I had some nightmares last night. But I get those from time to time, and I tend to remember all of my dreams.
You remember all of them?
Most of them, yeah.
Do you, keep a dream journal or anything?
No, I don't. I feel like I should. But I try to, if my girlfriend isn't too sleepy, I'd normally try to tell her about the weirder ones, because there's normally a few, right? Do you dream a lot?
Yes, I do. I dream more than the normal person. I usually go straight to sleep. When I sleep, I go straight into REM, kind of.
Okay.
So I could be asleep for a minute or two and have dreams that last for hours.
Okay.
So it's very confusing when I wake up sometimes, because sometimes I'm out of it, or I hallucinate a little bit when I first wake up.
Right. Is that whole Inception thing, right? Where the time is that, where the...
A little, yeah. I've not, I haven't ever done years, but I've definitely had things that felt like they last for months.
Right.
Which is weird.
Yeah, so I had a nightmare. I know what one of them was. I got mugged in one of them. And two comedians I know were mugged with me.
Okay, they weren't mugging you, because that would be weird.
They weren't mugging me. We were being mugged by someone else. And one of the comedians was very brave and disarmed the guy.
Which one? Anyone I know?
He doesn't live here anymore. But yeah. No, it was a weird dream. Yeah, there's only one dream I repeated enough to where I remember it. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I should. Do you keep a dream journal?
Sometimes I usually try to write in the mornings anyways. So sometimes especially if I'm out of it, I'll type it up or write it. My handwriting is really messy, especially when I'm tired. So I have to type it. Otherwise, I used to have a dream journal and I'd write stuff down, but I could never read what it said because I was half awake and my handwriting was shit.
You should have a secretary that comes in at 8 in the morning.
Yes.
Like an old Underwood.
Hey, this is an official announcement. Sleeping with Sarah. Who wants to be my dream secretary intern?
Sure.
I can't pay you, but you can come wake me up every morning at 8 a.m. and figure out what I dream.
She can wake you up by the clacking keys of the Remington. How early do you wake up? Do you have a day job?
I have a day job right now, yeah. I do project-based work, so I'll take a project that's usually anywhere from 4 to 8 months at a time. Okay. And then usually I give myself a little time off where I do creative stuff for a month or two until I pick up the next creative job. So
those projects, they require you to be up early in the morning?
Not that early. Right now, this job I can be there between 9:30 and 10.
Okay.
So it's not that bad, but I still usually come home and take a nap before going out to comedy stuff.
I feel like noon's a good...
Noon is the starting time.
Yeah, like 11:30. If I'm up by 11, that seems reasonable. And then, then you can maybe be out of the house by 2.
And what about you? You do comedy mostly, right?
Yeah. Well, it's 60-40. It depends. So I do mainly comedy, and then I'm like a freelancer, and I freelance. I mainly do proofreading, so I check people's mistakes. I have a dumb joke in my act right now where I'm a proofreader, but I prefer the term corrections officer.
I like that. It's cute. I feel like you're
cute.
It's cute. I feel like you're always. I feel like you're like you're the first guest I've had that has worn a tie in my bed.
This is the tie I sleep in. This is a nocturnal tie. You can tell it's nocturnal because it's black. Yeah. It's this. I don't know.
I always see you always dressed so dapper.
I don't know if it's dapper. I mean, I was thinking about this. I tend to wear a tie out of self-consciousness.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like it's just another. It's a slim, even though it's a skinny tie generally. I just feel like it's another barrier between me and other people.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. I know it's kind of weird. But
because with comedy, a lot of times you're trying to break down that barrier and connect with people.
I'm trying to get better at that too. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's kind of it's like a little strip of it. It's not the whole comfort blanket, but it's like a little strip of it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I see.
So it's like Linus.
Is it always the same? You always wear different ties too, right? Or
I wear this one a lot because black goes with everything.
Yes.
Kids.
Fashion advice from Adam Burke.
Anything to tell the youth. Yeah, solid black tie. Always have one. You never know when you need it.
I do not have any ties, actually.
I feel sorry for improvisers because they have to get that white, they've got that white shirt and the one black tie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. With the guys, the girls, we had to have like. Oh yeah, I would always wear like either black. I usually like to wear pants, and I did improv, like wear black slacks and like a plain like red t-shirt or a black t-shirt or.
The first time someone used the phrase improv slacks, I laughed so hard because it's one of those things like I didn't know that I knew what it was until someone said it, until someone realized it.
Yes.
But it's so weird that that's the. I mean, I get that, like, because you're going to do a lot of... Why do you think it is? Because it's, like, very business-like, right? Improv attire?
It's supposed to be business-like enough, but also free-moving, you know what I mean? So it's, like, supposed to be professional. Like, if you go to audition, it's professional so you could fit into any situation, but...
So people can map. If it's as like, basic as possible, people can map any character on there.
Versus if you're wearing, like, bright orange pants, which I used to have a boss that used to wear orange pants all the time... It was
What's wrong with orange? Yeah,
no,
bright orange pants.
It was bright orange. It was like neon orange pants, and he had a neon orange car to match.
Yeah, I feel like there must have been a law passed in the like 1963 that said that men could wear colors other than gray, black, and brown. Ah. Frank Sinatra said, "Never trust a man in a brown suit."
Really?
He said, "Never trust a man who wears brown." I don't know why. He said a lot of things. He probably said a lot of things about dizzy broads too, so I'm not sure if he's going to be your paragon of wisdom.
Are you ever worried about, like, if somebody's like, oh, Adam Burke used to say blank, and it was just something you spouted off when you were drunk? You know?
Well, I tend to hang out with, that's why I tend to hang out with people who are drunk as I am, because then the likelihood of them remembering some bullshit I said is lower, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I said stupid things.
Do you have any sayings that you go by?
Did I go by?
Mm-hmm.
The one that keeps coming up, it's not a saying, but it's a thought. The one that keeps coming up is nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything?
No, nobody really knows anything. Yeah. Like, people can give you people will give you advice, but most smart people will give you, are trying to tell you, their advice might be... they can tell you what happened to them. They can tell you what they did. And then, like, you can maybe extrapolate advice for them. But, like... You know what I mean? It's like... If this election isn't a... it isn't proof that nobody knows anything, I don't know what is.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't want to get... I didn't mean to steer it into politics, but I'm saying, generally, it's like...
But
I just through my life, I've noticed, even myself, you'll have a position on something, and you'll be like, this is like this, and then that'll turn out not to be true. So, I don't know. You kind of, as much as you do. You know as much as it'll get you by through the day. But
some people say they know a lot and then they just bullshit through it,
Yeah, but it's like, I'm sorry, I'm keeping ignoring, but you've got the one angle in this room that isn't covered by cameras is this wall over here, which is, and it's got all these little positive affirmations.
Oh, that's my writing wall. So I just set that up. So I take this barrier I have on the side here, and then I put it behind my bed, so I don't see my bed when I'm writing in the morning.
Smart.
So that way, because it's very easy for me to look at my bed and be like, oh, I want to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I kind of create a miniature office. It's temporary. And then I've got all these quotes. Like, one of my favorite quotes is that Ira Glass quote. I've talked about that in the podcast before. About, that no one tells beginners this, and I wish someone told me.
Oh, is that the one that said, I wish someone told me? Mm-hmm. This is the most NPR, for someone who has worked for NPR, this is the most NPR. If you can't see, you post a picture of this.
I will.
It's a page full of text, and you refer to that as an Ira Glass quote.
It is.
He is a wordy motherfucker. And this is coming from me. It's like, you can't have a 400-word quote.
It is a fantastic quote, though. But
it's not going to fit on your tombstone.
It's about doing the work, and it's about, there's a gap between what you...
Your epitaph isn't allowed to be so long it flows onto someone else's tombstone. It's supposed to be pithy.
I also have a little photo of Will Ferrell dressed as Elf saying, I love to write. I love writing. Writing is the best.
Yeah.
So there are varieties of that.
I also like, you've got Be So Good They Can't Ignore You.
That's my favorite quote.
Which is good. Especially, it's a good one to have in the bedroom.
Oh my gosh, since I've set that up, actually, when I set this up like last week, and I had a guy I'm kind of seeing over or whatever, and like I didn't install the things right on the wall, and they fell down.
Oh wow!
And not because of the stuff, but because I'm very bad at installing stuff on walls.
Be so good you knock the quote down.
Yes, but that quote wasn't up there then, so now I have to make sure that is a good quote to see. But I think it's good to look at quotes and things that keep you inspired, because I feel like sometimes especially in the winter, it's very easy to get down and very easy to get complacent about things or feel like down about what you're working on, and it's just good to have those reminders that yes, it works hard, like it's hard to do this, it's hard to write, but you can do it and get through it.
Well, I like to try to be consistent. I like to be down on myself in every season. You know what I mean?
You're down on yourself no matter if it's 95 degrees out.
I'm not one of these cold weather depressives.
I get sad during sad. I definitely do.
You do?
I end up sleeping a lot more, and it's like and it's so hard because the time change and then the stuff with the elections, like I didn't leave the house for like 2 days.
I remember when back in the dark ages of pre-Uber, although I'm glad they didn't exist back then, I used to work out in Lincolnwood, which is a suburb north of Chicago. I used to work at this little publishing company, and the way I would go home would be there would be a bus that would take me to a train and then take me to another bus, I think. And I remember waiting in the Chicago winter in foot deep of snow, waiting for a bus that you couldn't even see. And I think I just missed the one before, and I waited in the snow for 45 minutes. And I just remember being like, man, you must really want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those things where it was almost like, the memory of it is quite beautiful because it was so bleak and it was so cold. It was so wet.
I feel like this is something you tell like your grandkids as a crouchy old man. One day I was in Lincolnwood with foot up to my ankles.
Why reserve that for your grandkids? Share your fucking curmudgeonness
now
with the world. Yeah, practice. You know
I don't think you're very curmudgeon, but I think it's also the accent that kind of makes everything you say sound so pleasant.
Do you really think so? I don't know if I agree. I hate. Well, how do you like your voice?
That's a weird question because I do run a podcast. I should like my own voice. It's hard to. I've gotten a lot better listening to myself, and I don't dislike my voice. I used to dislike it, and now I don't know. I feel kind of. I've
gotten used to hearing it. I still don't like it, but I've gotten used to hearing it because you kind of have to, right?
But I don't like how American English is so. It's not flowy, it's not pretty, like if you're speaking, even if you're speaking like Spanish or Italian or anything else, it's like so flowy. It's io parlo italiano, that sounds like so much better, voglio andare in Italia.
Yeah, I used to say to my friend, an Italian friend of mine, any phrase in Italian sounds sexier than any phrase in English. And like what we came up with one was il brutto capello, which means ugly hat.
Brutto capello.
It just sounds good. Like I feel like you could say that, you could yell that after someone, and they would think it's a compliment.
I know, and I feel that way too with, I mean, and I think with accents, with Australian, with New Zealand, South African, British, Irish, like I feel like it's smoother. It sounds better than American.
South African's quite clipped. South African is it's very short and they're a bit like some South African guy I used to work with.
That's pretty good.
He used to say the great phrase because we would all, when we worked in London, as you probably know, a lot of English people are ardent pissheads, and so we would all when we would get paid, everyone would go down to the local pub, and there's a South African fella there, and he would always say, "Oh, I threw my name away." I threw my name away, which he just meant he got like so shit faced. He threw his name away. I don't even know how to translate it, but I always loved that phrase.
I like that.
Don't you think? Because I find Southern American accents to be very attractive and very beautiful.
Well, see, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
So, but I studied theater growing up, so we were taught to not get that Kentucky accent.
A lot of people a lot of Southerners hide their accents.
Well,
I've noticed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've noticed people will tell me they're from Kentucky, or they'll tell me they're even from further south, and then they'll end up with this kind of very middle of the road American accent.
Well, the thing is that the way I was taught, because growing up, Shakespeare doesn't sound too good with a Southern accent.
That sounds great.
The
bay are not the bay.
Me, what eyes had love put in my sight, which have no correspondence with true sight. It just doesn't sound.
No, that sounds great. That sounds like an antebellum novel. That sounds like Margaret Mitchell or whoever it was that wrote Gone with the Wind. Oh. When you say it like that, yeah, I think it sounds great. You sound like you're comparing. There's nothing more beautiful than purple prose in a Southern accent. You don't think so?
I guess it's weird when you grow up with it because that's more of a Georgia accent, to be honest.
At two rotate.
Kentucky's a little bit more like twangy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not as pretty, and it's so weird because you forget about it, but when I go home for holidays now and I hear it and people, like even when you're at the grocery store, you hear it and you're like, wow. They sound, and it's nothing bad. I think a lot of people just end up, thinking that maybe part of the reason people get rid of the accent, especially Southern, is a lot of people think that Southern accents can make people sound not as smart.
Yeah, no, I understand that cliche, but I would say, that's one way to overturn the cliche is be smart in your own accent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it. I mean, I can't really speak. It's not like I have a pure accent from anywhere. Mine gets muddled. But I just did notice that as a phenomenon that people, meet people from southern states. There's a comedian called Ali Clayton, though. Do you know Ali?
Yeah, I know Ali. I saw her in New York last weekend.
Yeah, she's great, and she's from one of the Carolinas. I can't remember which one. I think she's from North Carolina, and she's very thick.
Yeah, she's a very thick Southern accent, and she's so adorable though with it. I love her.
Yeah, she's great. She's really fart and smelly, smart and funny.
Fart and smelly.
Fart and smunny.
Smunny. What does smunny mean?
Well, that was a spoonerism. I was trying to say smart and funny. And have you ever heard of the phrase spoonerism before? That
makes me think of the only thing I'm thinking of right now is like Spoon River Anthology, which is like a theater thing.
Oh, the what?
Oh, it's never mind. It's
like a theatrical anthology.
Yeah, something. That's just what I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Spoonerisms are when you transpose the sounds of two words. Anyway, I would say the dialect thing is true of all countries, though. Like, there's certain British and Scottish dialects.
But the thing is, in Britain, because I lived in Oxford for a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I did a study abroad. I did BADA there.
Okay, what's that?
British American Drama Academy.
Okay.
It's like a study abroad thing. Anyways, I did notice that I
really want there to be like a British Indian natal group.
You want it to be something where it was like British Aerospace,
No, I want there to be like British American Drama Association and British Indian Nautilus group, because then you could belong to Bada Bing. It was a long way for that joke. I'm not even sure it was a joke. But there you go.
And where are you from, then? You're from...
So I grew up in Northern... I was born in Australia, but I left there before I could even speak. And so I grew up in Northern Ireland, in a couple of small towns right over the border, a county called Armagh. And then when I was 10 years old, our family moved to London. We lived in North London up until the age of 23, at which point I moved to America. So I've been in America for 17 years.
What brought you here? Was it school or?
It was a lady originally. We met and we got married and we moved over here. An American lady. And then that was down we lived in Dallas for 5 years and then we got divorced and now I live here.
Could I ask you an odd question about that? So when you get divorced, do you still get to keep like your citizenship that you got when you got married? Is that?
Yeah, because I mean we did it. It was all above board, and it was. Well, I'm not a citizen. I'm a permanent resident.
Okay, but I didn't know how that works. I know that sounds kind of dumb.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. Well, the thing, you renew it. You know what I mean? So I renewed my permanence, and they renewed it. So that means they looked at it, and they said that they still approve of me being here. So
yeah.
As long as they keep approving of me being here,
you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
But I think I'm going to apply for citizenship. I think I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
even under the certain condition,
especially
conditions?
because of certain conditions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
take that how you will.
I loved England so much, and I was so mad because my great grandmother was born in England, and it wasn't my grandmother, so I was one generation off.
Okay.
And I had done a bunch of research into the laws, and I was like,
did you want to get British citizenship?
I wanted to move because I did a study abroad. I wanted to move there after I graduated, but then I fell in love with a guy that was here, so then I ended up staying here, and that didn't work out either. So, but it was, I really love London. It's one of my favorite places, and every time I go to Europe, I like to fly into London first and then go.
How long were you in Oxford for?
It was several months, and then I did some traveling. So it was like semesters worth, but then I traveled on the bookends and that kind of thing.
Well, I was just going to say, not every British I don't think that Americans would find every British dialect to be attractive.
No.
Full on Northern Irish. That's all my relatives are Northern Irish, and some people like it, some people don't.
Can you say some of those things where you're speaking English but you don't understand a word? Like, is it that kind of Irish?
Yeah. There are some parts of my some branches of my family are like that. But let's say Glaswegian. A lot of British people can't understand Glaswegians, or people from Newcastle. Geordies, as they're known, are famously unintelligible. So
is it because they're drunk, or is it because their accent?
Far be it for me to add on to a well-founded cliche. Some people can't understand me.
Really?
Yeah, from time to time. It used to be worse, but I think as my accent has become more and more Americanized, I've got I don't even know. I think I have a mid-Atlantic accent, but I'm not sure.
But then you also speak kind of calmly and softly. Some people, I tend to speak faster. If I was speaking an accent, I could imagine some people might not understand me. But that's part of the Ritalin as well.
Oh, yeah?
I take the uppers basically to stay awake. So.
Is yours still on Ritalin? No, I don't mean that as I don't mean any kind of judgment, but I thought it was...
something better.
I thought only children took it.
No. It's so Ritalin and Adderall are like balancers. So for children that are that have hyperactivity, it will bring them down and calm them down. Okay. But for me, who has narcolepsy, it helps wake me up.
Oh, okay.
So I take something similar. I take an extended release drug that's similar.
Forgive my ignorance.
It's okay. No. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know. So I take an extended release during the day that'll last most of the day, and then I have backup Ritalin as well to stay awake. So I have to consciously try to speak slower because I realize I am on uppers, and I'm like. I used to be, and I'm getting better with this, I used to be paranoid that I would always come off as annoying whenever I met people, because I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Sarah, da-da-da-da-da, and I've been trying to get better with speaking slower, and when I first used to get on stage, I used to always talk way fast, because the adrenaline would make me nervous, too. So that's just something I've been working on. Is there a
setting people can put on the podcast that slows it down?
I think there are, actually. There are. They can do it. They can do it. I've accidentally listened to podcasts fast. You can listen to it at 1.5 times the speed. Yeah. Or you can listen to 0.5 times the speed.
When you don't have the time.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes you just need all the information, but you don't have the time. So you moved to the States and you were 23, you said?
Yeah. Yeah, moved to Dallas, Texas when I was 23.
And when did you get into comedy?
Not until 2008. So after I moved to... no, that's wrong. 2006, I beg your pardon. After I moved to Chicago, I was working various jobs and doing bits and pieces. And I was doing some freelance writing for a magazine here called CS, Chicago Social.
Yep, I know that one.
Yeah. And so I'd met a guy at a party who was a friend of a coworker, and he was a stand-up here in Chicago, and he was telling me that he was talking about how much this was a improv and sketch town, and at that point in 2006,
it was.
Yeah, and it was there was only one full-time stand-up club. There was only
Lakeshore Theater.
Lakeshore Theater was just starting, but Zanies was really only the full-time club, and then in terms of alt rooms, there was just Lincoln Lodge and
CSYK back then. It was just starting.
No, they hadn't even started then. CYSK.
Yeah.
No, they didn't start until 2007 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was. What was I going to say? Yeah, there was Chuck was the other one, Chicago Underground Comedy. So anyway, I interviewed a bunch of people. I don't think I interviewed Hannibal, but I interviewed like Michael Palisak, and T.J. Miller was still on the scene, and John Roy was about to leave, and like I just met a lot of people. And then at the end of the sort of research period, I decided to do like an open mic, just because
You're like, it's the end of the research. I'm just going to try it out.
No, essentially, I thought that the editor might ask me to do that, so I thought just in case after I submit, I'll cover those bases. So I did it. I did he ended up not giving a shit. So, but I did 4 minutes at a open mic called Pressure Open Mic that a gentleman who a guy whose name I'm completely blanking on, and I feel so embarrassed. But is he
well known?
He doesn't do stand up anymore. But he was super funny, and I'll think of it and I'll yell it out at the end of the podcast. But Dan Polidorus, his name is.
Gotcha.
Dan Polidorus was hosting. Anyway, I did it, and I did one joke up top, but they got a laugh, and then the next 3 minutes was absolute silence. But I just kind of kept doing it. And I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that I did, because the first 2 years of doing it, was so bad.
I think it's bad for everybody.
Yeah, but especially for
especially for me, I bombed a lot.
I really did. I was really bad, and I'm also not really good. I don't really have a very thick skin. Always, I like.
Oh, really?
I don't really. The thing that saves me, the reason I'm not constantly breaking into tears is I'm quite oblivious. I don't kind of pick up. I don't pick up when people like me, and I don't always pick up necessarily when they don't like me. You know what I mean? I'll fabricate that they don't like me, so I'll just assume that. But yeah, I've kind of got a thin skin, so
you're kind of more sensitive.
I'm pretty sensitive.
I used to be sensitive a lot. I was a very sensitive kid. And I don't know how I suddenly got to be better about that. And even as an adult for some parts. And I don't know at what point, and I think that's why I avoided stand-up for so long, but I don't know at what point, at some point, I started to grow more of that thick skin. And I don't know how or when that happened. Probably through the breakup. That's probably it. But
Oh, did you have a breakup while you were starting stand-up?
Before I started, yeah. It was at a long thing, it was a long thing. Thought we were going to, get married and all that other stuff, and didn't work out. And
I feel like a breakup will precipitate stand-up, or stand-up will precipitate a breakup.
Yeah. It's like there's a few things girls will do. They chop off their hair, they go on a trip by themselves, and they start stand-up. And I think that I did all three.
Right.
But I did improv and sketch before then. I was doing that for years before then.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't, I didn't think I could be funny on my own. Or I didn't want to give myself the chance to.
Yeah. I definitely. Well, I tried to be funny a lot around people. I was always making jokes. So my thing was, I thought when I wasn't doing stand-up, I go to parties and I try to be funny. And I always want to apologize to those people who had to put up with that because it must have been really annoying. And then, well, the good thing...
You're the guy that was always on at parties.
Yeah. Well, just not always on, but just always like my default response to a statement would be a joke, which is very annoying. So then when I started doing stand-up, I realized I was doing that less at parties because then I kind of had the outlet for it, right? So I kind of felt like... So I kind of like it. One thing I really love about stand-up is, I do think I've got a bit of a thicker skin than I used to. Not much, but I do have a bit of a thicker skin. And hopefully, although maybe everyone disagrees, hopefully I'm less, like, craving attention at parties. Or craving, like, acknowledgement for something that I said. Because then you have this whole industry out there that's waiting for you to, be a dick.
You've never come out, like, you've always come across as, like, someone that was, like, super approachable, not, like, an ego or anything like that, so it's, like, it's been very, I've always felt like you were one of those people that was just very cool as a cucumber.
I'm good at hiding all that. Good at hiding it. I have as much of an ego as, well, I've got an ego like everybody, you know, and I also, like, if you're sensitive, I think, me personally, the fact that I'm sensitive, that's part of having an ego, right? Because, like, if you're not, part of it is, like, if you're being hurt by things, you think that, like, you're not worthy of being hurt. But of course you are. You're a human being, and people are going to make snap judgments about you, and that's just part of life. And so you kind of, like, just have to get over yourself. Have
you ever gotten upset over, like, Twitter or something like that? Like, someone tweeting something at you? Or have you ever gotten, like, social media fights?
No, yeah, I have. Not too much. I try to stay away from those. The rule that I'm trying to do... The thing is, whenever I break this rule, it's always a perfect reminder
why you have the rule.
Stick to the fucking rule. And the thing is, in social media, because I do like social media, I use it a lot, but my thing is, don't post anything unless you're being funny. Unless it's an absolute national emergency and someone's gone missing, that someone's, like, really having a hard day, or that someone really needs something. And there's things that are on the cusp, right, where you can kind of say something while being funny. And again, I know I break this rule, but every time I break the rule, it's a reminder. Don't look. You kind of have this job / vocation, and this stuff is perfect way to practice. In a way, it's not a substitute for doing stand-up. It's not a substitute.
Yeah, tweeting is not equal stand-up. How long have you been doing comedy? Well, I've been tweeting for 5 years, and I've done a few open mics.
Right. But it is, like. Another thing that I was really bad at, as you might notice from this interview, is, like, just being too wordy and being kind of, like, running on. And
like Ira Glass.
Yeah, like Ira Glass. That's one of my quotes. Exactly. So, Twitter and stuff, it's really good at making you... I'm trying
to get better at Twitter. I want to post every day, but I can't. I think I have to be funny every time I tweet. So it's like, it's this weird pressure. It's like, oh, I think this is funny. Is somebody else going to think it's funny? And I have, like, this second guessing thing that happens. Because unlike Facebook, you can edit it, and you can, like, if you spell something wrong, you can edit it. Yeah. Twitter, you can't do that. Then you got to delete the tweet and retweet it, and you're like, well, it's already got 3 likes. Do I want to delete it and change it because there's a spelling error?
Or one absolutely absurd set of dilemmas.
I know.
So dumb.
Social media is kind of ridiculous, but it's also what affords me the ability to do, like, things like the podcast.
It's so funny because so many people who use social media have social anxiety. And it's like you've given yourselves another outlet for social anxiety.
Well, what's weird is I don't usually have social anxiety in person. I have social anxiety on social media and through texting. Yeah. I have anxiety texting people because I think I've gotten so many little arguments. It's like if the person had called me, their argument wouldn't have existed because you would have heard my tone, you would have understood what I meant. Yeah. And now it's like I get social anxiety when I'm texting people, and, like, I'm always like, I will rewrite a text like 5 times and overthink it, and it's like but in person, no problem communicating, making eye contact. I'm just bad with the technology part of it because it's saved forever.
Yeah.
Versus if we have a conversation, not this conversation because this is saved forever, but if we have a conversation outside outside, like the Laugh Factory or something, for instance, we're in the moment, we're having a conversation. I know, I'm taking it, I'm listening, you're listening to me. But text messages, we might not be reading it or, half reading it, and it's saved forever. You can be like, oh, you see what you said? You see what you said last week? This is what you said. This is what you think of me. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I just have that social anxiety, but...
No, that comes up in text arguments, sure. The funniest thing to me on Twitter and Facebook is when you make a joke and someone will go like, not your best, or somebody like, don't think so. And it's like, I'm sorry I tried to give you a free thing. And it's like what that cost you literally nothing. In fact, the only way it cost you anything is the second you took to fucking write a response to it. And it's like, look, yeah, it's really dumb.
It's your humor, like, just deal with it, right?
Yeah. No, it is funny. I do love when people are like, don't think so.
But they still follow you, and they still comment, and they still like stuff.
So funny. One of my favorite people is on Twitter and Facebook is Mike Wiley, who's a comedian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Mike.
And I'll just see, he'll have some stuff that's so funny, and I'll just put it in the act, because he's a guy who, honestly, a lot of the stuff he puts on Twitter, him and another Chicago comedian called Ray Holub, they both actually, the Twitter and Facebook jokes are perfect for their act.
Yeah, because that's how they, that's...
So it's kind of like, they work on the page and they work on the stage. And I didn't mean that to wrong.
Hey, that could be an Adam Burke quote in the future. Hey, you can have a joke that works on the page and works on the stage. Just
because it works on the page doesn't mean it'll work on the stage.
That could end up on someone's tombstone someday.
Yeah. I want to say that right before I get hit by a truck. Hey, just because it works on the page don't mean it works on the stage. Wow.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when did you start taking comedy more seriously? Like making it something you wanted to do for like a living? Because you said you started doing it after those interviews.
Yeah, it just kind of snowballed a little bit. And you know what it was really... I started in October 2006, and then I was still doing mics and stuff around that year, the winter of that year. I still do mics to this day, but I was doing a lot of mics, and I kind of got caught up. There was a group of people, a lot of the people who made up a show called Comedians You Should Know, Danny Callis and Marty DeRosa and other people, and they were just this little conclave, this little group of just like addicts, like stand-up addicts, and we would go to like 4 open mics a night, and you would just go and you would grind.
And there were 4 mics a night there then?
Yeah. And you grind, and because all there was mics.
Yeah.
That's all.
There weren't any shows.
No.
Oh.
There really weren't. There was only 2 shows, and everybody was trying to get on Chuck, and everybody was trying to get on the Lincoln Lodge. And the Lincoln Lodge to me was... because the Lincoln Lodge back then, it had Robert Buscemi and Brady Novak, and TJ had done it for a while, and Josh Chaney and Mike Bridenstine, all people who were pretty successful out
Cameron was on it too, right?
Cameron was on it later, but like about 2 years before Cameron was on it, there was all these people, and Becky Garcia was on it, and another name that I'm blanking on, and so it was like, it was like the alt scene here, and Chuck was, Chicago Underground was too, and all those people to me just seemed so funny, and I never thought I could do those rooms. And then, I was just telling someone this the other night, what kind of happened was, like, I kind of got some opportunities early that, strictly speaking, I shouldn't have got, and I got them for whatever reason. I don't know why. It was the accent or...
The accent? I don't think it could just be the accent.
I don't know why it was. I don't know. I mean...
What were the opopportunities?
Well, a couple of things happened about... So I was doing like some smaller showcase. So the one piece of the puzzle I'm leaving out is Dave Odd. He was a guy who had a edge comedy, and he would do good mics, and his mics were good, and then he would do these showcases that were fun, and that was a really great way. He was really good at giving people their first
show,
like proper show, and those were like really good because that was like so exciting. You're like, I'm doing it, even though I sucked, like I was terrible, I was awful. And then so about a year and a half or 2 years in, I can't remember. I think it's somewhere in there. I got booked a week at Zanies.
What?
Yeah, not downtown, but out in St. Charles. So Zanies in Chicago right now it has 3 clubs. Back then it had 2 clubs. Oh, I no, it did have 3 clubs. It had Vernon Hills Club, which was, oh boy. It was a good club. Good club, big club, but it was just really hard to get to. And the owner there hated me. Anyway.
How did you get the St. Charles gig? Did they have auditions like they do now?
You used to go on Mondays, yes. You used to go on Mondays and you would do it. And you do 6 minutes, and then you might do 8 minutes, and then you would just do, and you keep showing up, and you keep showing up. So I think I did 2 or 3 of those, and he said, I want you to open for this guy, Tim Walko. This is the booker at Zanies, who's a very nice chap, who, I'm going to say he's a very nice chap. No, he is, but I've worked for Burke for years. And he said, do you have 25 minutes? And I said, yes. And I had 25 minutes. I had 25 minutes total. Like, everything I
ever written.
Everything I knew how to say on stage that's all I had. And I couldn't really do crowd work. And so I think I did 5 shows. And Jesus Christ, I bombed every show. I sucked so hard. One guy came up to me after one of the shows with a napkin on which he had written jokes. And he just,
oh my God!
And he said, I tried doing stand-up once. I tried doing stand-up a few years ago. I could make a go of it, but you could really use these, basically. And he'd written these jokes down on a napkin.
Wow.
Yeah. But speaking of accents, that's when the headliner, there was a guy called Tim Walko, and he was really nice. And he's very sweet, and he killed. So it's not even like...
It doesn't. Well, the thing is, if you're a feature, the nice thing is there's not that pressure. Like you don't. Yeah. You don't have to be crushing every minute of it, but you still don't want to bomb.
No, you absolutely don't. But it's also one of those lessons where you can't blame it on the room or anything. You can't go, oh, well, those people are dopes, and then, or those people suck, because then someone goes up and absolutely destroys for an hour, which is what he would do. But he was a guy, like he was. He just came up to me one time and he was like, you don't mention your accent. And I was telling the story to someone last night because I was doing like all these alt rooms. And people were like, oh, you don't mention your accent. I think that's really cool that you don't mention that you're from overseas. That's, because they were like, it's like hack to do that. And so I wasn't doing that. And because it's just all about seeking approval from different people. And then this other guy was just like, he's like, no, you should mention it because it's confusing when you don't. Because honestly, the first 15 minutes, they're trying to figure out where you're from. So if you do one joke up top that addresses it, then it's out of the way. And then you can do whatever you want. And I did. And I still do to this day.
Yeah.
I mention it.
Really quickly, 15-second joke.
Yeah, exactly. And then you don't have to define yourself by it, and you can define yourself as much or as little as you want by it. But it's like, I don't know if that was anything to do with the question, but yeah.
I forgot the question at this point.
Yeah. So when stuff like that started to happen, when I started...
So after that, even though you didn't do well, did you get booked back, or what?
I did somehow. But like I kept going to those... Well,
because they don't really have those anymore. They've got book showcases, but they're like months out. And
Well, I felt so embarrassed by that, and by I was getting booked on some other alt shows, and I felt so embarrassed that I was just like, well, you can do one of two things. You can either quit, or you can like retroactively justify the booking. So you can, you know what I mean? So you can work your dick off. So the next time that you'll be a bit better, and then that'll make you a bit better. Because like the experience of bombing definitely made me better. Made me work so much harder.
I think bombing helps a lot. I think people remember the first time they really bomb. And,
then it made me work so much smarter too. And then it was about like really putting yourself in as many different situations. But yeah. So no, it was.
And now you've gotten to open for some really big names and have some fun.
Yeah, that stuff's fun. That stuff's always great. Yeah. Everyone's, just about everyone's super nice. Yeah,
that's everyone I've met that's like, they've always been like super nice and like down to earth pretty much. Probably because they know stand-ups, they're like, yep, we've all been there. We've all
Yeah.
to work
Yeah.
our way. It's not like something where it's not like an actor where someone who could be technically discovered off the street and then they're like a big actor.
Right.
Not that happens that much, but like in terms of stand-up, you know, you put...
Yeah.
If you're on TV, you've been putting like 10 years in.
Well, I think you can avoid paying your dues, but the dues are always there waiting for you down the road.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think you can, like...
Who hasn't paid, like...
I'm not gonna say who, but I'm saying I think there's even be instances of someone who'll get like really big really quick, and people will go, you know what I mean, and there'll be like sour grapes of like, I can't believe so and so got that, and it's like, well, they're gonna pay their dues.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they're gonna pay them retroactively, because even if they get booked into big rooms, when you quote unquote think they're not.
Well, even in Amy Schumer book, she talks about how when she got Last Comic Standing, she was like 2.5 years in.
Yeah, I remember seeing her at open mics here.
And then she said she wasn't near ready, but she ended up making the top 5, and she had to go on tour with these guys, and she was like bombing every night, and I thought that was really nice that she put that stuff in her book, saying like I wasn't ready, but the bombing made her better.
That's
and
what I mean.
was like,
that's an example. Like the Jews are waiting for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's I was glad that she put that in there, because she's like, yeah, like I bombed and I was not doing well on that road show, I guess, but that's
again, and then you retroactively justify the booking. What do? Do you quit, or do you like
keep going?
You just keep going and try to get, and just acknowledge, you know, because I guess there's 3 options. You either quit, or you try to put yourself, or you try to live in a world of delusion where they're wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then you put...
I feel like there's a lot of people that live in the world of delusion in this field.
Right. Well, then you can put yourself in situations where you'll only do well. Mm-hmm. And you go, well, I'll just move to New York and I'll open my own room that's a coffee shop and all my friends, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever that is. I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but like, you know what I'm saying? You can make a bubble for yourself, or... You can do what she did, I think, and it was just like work really hard and work bigger and bigger rooms. Like, you know, she performed, like, shouldn't she just do, she performs in Sweden and shit, like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of reaching out, and that's getting outside your comfort zone, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
Or maybe it isn't. I don't know. She's blonde and blue eyes. Maybe Sweden's her perfect comfort zone.
Possibly. And you said you have a girlfriend right now too?
I do.
Is she in the comedy world at all, or no?
She's not. She's a performer. She's a dancer. She does belly dance and burlesque. But we've been together for 3 years.
Oh, well, congratulations!
Yeah.
I feel like that's a congratulations. I feel like anything over like a year is like, oh yes, that's a real thing. That's actually accomplishing something.
Yeah. No. Yeah. She's great. She puts up with me. She's really nice, but it's interesting dating a performer. I think it's beneficial. It's worked out kind of well for us dating someone who's a performer but doesn't do the same thing that we do.
I've talked about that before here, because you're not competing. It works well because you're not competing directly with each other. Yeah. It's not like, oh, you gotta, you got a set on Conan. Why haven't I got it? I've been doing it longer than you know.
Yeah. I mean, if she gets a set on Conan before I do, that'll be, fair play to her, you know what I mean? Yeah.
You're like, hey, can I come backstage with you, or at least meet him?
Yeah. Can I hold a veil or something? Yeah.
So she's burlesque dancer. Is that was she doing that before you guys got together?
Yeah, she'd just kind of been doing it for a year when we started, and then I met her at a show. It's weird. What's weird is
was it the show that the Michelle Amor show where you host?
No, that's the weird thing. It wasn't, because when we met, I'd been doing stand-up. Let's see, I'm trying to do the math on this. I've been doing stand-up and burlesque shows for about 4 years, and she'd been living in town a couple of years, but weirdly we'd never kind of crossed paths. And then I did this other show with a friend of ours booked. I met her, and then we ended up both getting booked to do a show in Indiana. And she was my ride. I don't drive, so she was my ride down to Indiana. She was in the show, and I was in the show. And then we just kind of like, we met, and...
So you met in person before you saw her perform. You didn't see her perform and then meet her.
The first time I met her, she was performing, yeah.
Oh, okay, so the
she
first...
was doing belly dance.
Oh, so you saw her belly dance before you ever spoke to her.
And she has video of it, and I don't know why. This is crazy. She has video of it, and like rewatched the video for the first time since we met.
Oh God, that's so weird.
Yeah. But she had video of her dad, like in.
And were you just standing there with your mouth wide open, like?
She's very pretty. She's very pretty, and she's an amazing belly dancer. And my mouth is probably open. But she was great.
Yeah.
And
So and then she saw you do comedy. Did she like it?
And
hopefully,
her mouth was open in disgust. No, apparently she thought it was funny, but like her boyfriend was there at the time. She was seeing.
Oh, she's so you.
When we first met, we like.
It was platonic.
Yes, and then I was, when we did the show together, I was single.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So was she? When did she become like? Did you end up like slowly like taking her away from the boyfriend, or was it they broke up and then you?
Yeah, it's.
Sorry, is that a weird?
No. It's I
well,
think
it's like a weird thing. Like you always hear
we
about
actually
people.
took it slow for a while.
Well, you always hear about people complaining about being in the friend zone and that kind of thing. It's like, were you in the friend zone, like waiting in the wait, or was it just a right timing thing?
I think it was kind of right timing. I think we were just kind of. But there was jumps in time between each of these things. So it was like, there was like a few months between.
Oh, between when you first met to when you did a show together.
And when we started dating. So it was
gotcha.
kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, now that makes sense. But I always think it is interesting when you're friends first. It's like, if you had both been single, would you have been friends first?
Right.
Like that's my question. If both of you had been single the first time you guys met, would you have been friends first, or would you have just tried to jump right in to be in a relationship?
I don't know.
Or to date her, or whatever.
I probably wouldn't have had... I don't know, I probably wouldn't have the guts to...
You probably would have been too shy?
Yeah, I think so.
Have you always been someone that's like goes to friends first, get comfortable, and then you date somebody?
It's always a shambles. It's always. I'm always never quite sure. I don't have a lot of agency when it comes to that. I always feel.
So you're not. Well, I feel like a lot of people, especially in the Midwest, a lot of guys are very like shy. Like I go to LA, I go to New York. Guys are aggressive there. They'll like come up to you like I've been out with guy friends and I left to go to the bathroom or something, and like they will have guys that come up to them and be like, "Hey, are you with her? Because if not, I'm gonna buy her." You know, like they're so direct.
Yeah.
And it's nice because I get drink spot for me, which never happens here for some reason.
Yeah. Are you direct? Will you approach someone? Will you go up to someone and go, "Are you drinking that?"
I mean,
can I have it?
Well, I won't do that. I can be flirty, but with guys don't tend to, because guys are taught.
You can be flirty, really? You have a show where you interview people in your bed.
Yes, I can be flirty. The thing is that guys are taught to do the chase. Guys are taught that, like, they're taught to be aggressors. And so I am typically not the aggressor. I mean, I guess if I've had enough to drink, sure. But
right.
I'm not usually the aggressor with that. I feel like I kind of like them to come to me with that. It's kind of fun. But I'll get in a conversation with someone and talk to them and see if they're interesting. But I get bored really easily. Yeah. So I'm with creatives all the time. Like, if it's somebody that's like a business degree, like marketing, like if it's finance, it's just like, I know I'm going to get bored.
Yeah. So are you single at the moment?
Yeah-ish. I'm kind of seeing somebody, but I'm single. I can do what I want, yeah.
Do they know you're single?
Yes, they know I'm single. Well, I mean, who knows? Like, the podcast, this is probably going to be like a couple weeks behind, so by the time it catches up, who knows?
All right.
Just in case this person might be listening, if by chance we are like something by this point, like, just remember, I recorded this a few weeks ago. This is
where it all happens.
I mean, like, I like my freedom. I like being single. I do, miss dating someone for a while, but I don't want to be too serious because I'm really focused on what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
I might move in like a year or so. Like, I don't know if I want to
Where do you think you'll move?
I think I might go to LA.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not opposed to New York, but I think depends on where things are going, but I think that's where I'll probably go. I want some sunshine. I want to not be rainy and cold all the time, and I don't know, it could be fun. I think when you do plan to, like, when you know that you're gonna like move or go somewhere else, like, you don't want to get too attached to somebody, or like, because like, I I don't want to break someone's heart again. I hate doing that.
How many hearts have you broken? And do you put up like little decals?
I make a mark. Yeah. Oh no! I mean, I probably more than I think. That sounds horrible. I've definitely had this bad habit since I was in my long relationship that I'll date someone for like 3 or 4 months, and once they get to that point, there's that point in the relationship where you know, like they're on the tip of their tongue about to say the L word.
Okay.
And then I would before they said it, I would break up with them, but I knew that they felt, I'm a horrible
While
person.
they're saying it, I love.
No. Oh, but some of them are it's just, it's at a certain point where I realize I know what I want, and I realize I can realize, and pretty quickly, like within the first 3 months, whether I'm gonna want to be with this person longer term, or whether I'm gonna allow myself to fall in love with this person.
Okay.
And I just haven't found that yet. Maybe with this person I'm kind of seeing, I don't know, but I apparently have commitment issues.
Have you ever been in love?
Yes, I have actually been in love, for real. It was real, and I love...
Just the once?
I will say... I would say... Okay, so... One, in the traditional sense, we dated for a long time. We fell in love. We had Christmases together. We lived together. That kind of thing. But then there have been two other situations that I would consider love.
Okay.
One... happened to be when I was on a break with this guy, the guy that I was in love with, and I met this guy. I had a wonderful summer with this guy. He was going to law school in the fall, and very smart. We connected on so many levels, and there was this thing, and we didn't say that to each other. We knew it was a short-term thing, but I think I definitely felt that for him, because I hadn't felt that strong of a connection there are a few times in my life. And then there's this one other guy that, from my past a little bit, that I think that maybe what I feel could have been love, but I don't know. Like, it's one of those things, it's like if you don't say it, is it love? Like if the tree falls and if the tree gets hit by lightning in the woods, doesn't make a sound. What?
It's outside my pay grade.
Yeah.
I
don't know. What about you? You've been in love, I take it? Yes? You're currently in love?
Yes, very much so. I've been in love lots of times.
Did you say the L word first, or did she?
Oh, in this relationship? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say. I think she might have. I'm not sure.
Huh.
I'm not sure. I don't know. It was such a whirlwind,
Such a whirlwind.
It was it was in such bright gouache colors, the entire experience. Do people... How many people have you had on this podcast?
You're probably probably close to 40.
I am 40. I'm 40 years old now. Oh, I'm the 40th, maybe the 40th guest.
Yeah, probably.
Do people tend to find it uncomfortable or comfortable?
They tend to find it comfortable.
Yeah.
In general. Why, are you uncomfortable?
I'm on the cusp of both.
Oh.
It's weird because I feel like I'll get comfortable and then I'll feel uncomfortable. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's a weird thing because it is a closeness. So I feel like a lot of people do get comfortable because you're laying down. It's almost like being in a therapist's office.
Yeah.
But
this light is very bright.
A lot of people tend to forget about the light, but maybe it is a little
I'm
too
very
bright.
pale, so I'm actually tan.
I think I am paler than you are, so...
You think?
See, we're having a who's a paler contest.
I've kind of got that sickly typhus glow to me. But
everyone in England in Ireland is probably pretty pale, right?
Yeah.
Do you go home a lot?
No. I really want to go home next year, but we'll see. I haven't gone to where my dad's family live in years and years and years, and I'd love to go back. I went back home to London last Christmas. To see my mum.
London and Christmas must be beautiful.
No. Why would you think that? Are you picturing the Christmas Carol? Are you picturing
probably something
rosy-cheeked
Dickens,
waifs running through the streets with a plump pheasant tucked into their breeches?
I'm imagining little children with roses being like, "Hey, buy some." I can't do that.
Excuse me, Governor.
Governor.
I saw. I was doing a show at Second City yesterday, and there was a sign up for classes, and it said it was his class in standard British dialect, and I thought that was so funny.
Standard RP. That's what I can kind of do. Standard RP is what I've learned, but I can't do Cockney.
Well, then, so they're saying standard British dialect, is that going to be received pronunciation? Because then that's not dialect. To me, standard SRP is the absence of dialect.
Oh.
RP would be what everyone does when they do the NPR
Theater.
BBC voice.
Ah.
Hello.
See, I see it as for theater because we learned, the International Phonetic Alphabet, and when we were doing accents, we would have to write out like the umlauts and things like that in our scripts to figure out what accent we were doing. So we did that in college.
Because standard British dialect now is probably like what Lily Allen speaks, like all that glottal stop and all that, darling. Not me. It's all that.
Well, that's not. No, that would not be RP. That would be.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's probably the standard. British
that's what you mean by
dialect.
standard. Ah,
You know
I
what I
see.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that many people, not really speaking that clipped accent anymore.
Yeah.
Were they reading the results of the wall? But nobody speaks like George Sanders, who's my favorite actor.
Do you ever do voice stuff? Adam?
No, I don't.
You could.
I do around the house constantly. I talk to the dogs in many different accents, and I sing songs.
Do they like it?
Not the dogs, the pets rather. We have one dog and one cat. And the dog is indifferent, and my girlfriend finds it merely annoying, which is the standard that we've set for things in the house.
You can be this much annoying,
Yeah,
but
it
after
could
it
be-
gets to this much, then it's done.
Yeah, we have a big meter. It's
An annoying meter. It's
Yeah, mildly irritating is allowed. But have you ever seen the original Jungle Book?
But the cartoon.
The Walt Disney version, yeah. I guess that's not the original, but the one in the middle now, the 1960s Disney one, is the guy who does the voice of Shere Khan is George Sanders.
Ah.
And he's also one of the main actors in a marvelous movie called All About Eve, and George Sanders has the most upper class English accent. He killed himself. He committed suicide, and he said, "Long last, I cannot bear it anymore." Something like that. And I just imagine him. But George Sanders has the most amazing accent. If I got one of those genies that only gave out the one wish, I'd literally speak like George Sanders.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You could just speak like him all the time. Who would know? No.
He's got, I know.
How would you do your stand up like that though? Let me hear your stand up.
What do I even start with? Well, I normally talk about my accent, so I couldn't do that. What's the first one? I've got a bit of a cold. Yeah, that's the first. The problem is I can't do it very loud.
Well, you'd have a microphone.
But the louder I get, the more it kind of falls apart. But George Sanders.
I dare you to do a whole
Two nuns
set.
walk into a bar.
I dare you to do a whole set with the George Sanders accent.
It just sounds like you're hitting on someone in the 60s. Hello, can I buy your Campari? You know what I mean? You can't
Exactly.
even... I feel like it's the kind of accent, even if you try to order a Schlitz, you just end up saying cognac. You know that? You just end up with a pint of cognac. I just can't say Schlitz.
Aw, that's nice. Well, as we're winding down towards the end of the podcast, I usually ask people, because we talked about dreams a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So what are your dreams for the future, for yourself?
For stand-up?
For anything. You could do multiple, as many as you want.
I'd love to... I'd really love to try... I'd love to do stand-up all around the world. I'd love to...
Any particular place?
Well, it's like, so they're doing it in like Lithuania and stuff now, places like that. I'd love to do it in Australia. I'd love to go to the Melbourne Comedy Festival. I'd love to do that. I really like doing stand-up a lot. And what I really love doing is I love writing jokes in a room full of people. If you're in a room full of funny people trying to come up with a, when I say jokes, because a lot of comedy writing is you're trying to come up with a funny solution, right? You're trying to resolve either a bit of dialogue or or a monologue situation, and you're trying to resolve it. You're trying to solve a problem. Like a lot of my friends are engineers and designers, funny enough, and it's kind of interesting to see them work in the same way. But like our solution is always just funny. You know what I mean? It's always like fun, and I love that. I love working with like four people, and I love when different people add a different bit of the solution, and you end up with this joke that you never would have come up with on your own. And I really, really like that. So, like, that's something I would love to do.
So you want to be almost like in a writer's room or
I
something?
love being in writers' rooms. Yeah. The best. I just got to...
have you been in them before? Have you written on stuff?
I've done a few. I worked for a company, a media startup last year, Touch Vision. We did a bunch of comedy content for them. Last week I was just writing for Wait, Don't Tell Me, which is a show on NPR.
Yes, I love Wait, Don't.
Yeah, I've been on the show as a panelist, and I got to see how they write the show last week, and it was like, especially last week during the election, was really, really interesting, and they're all so funny.
I know, I think, I don't know if Don Hall still does stuff with them.
Yeah, yes. Don's great. Yeah,
so I know Don. He's great.
Don is their house manager for the live show. But Don used to do a podcast. It was very funny. But yeah, no, I don't know. I've done a little bit of it. I'd love to do more. But again, you have to earn your right into those rooms, and hopefully I'll keep doing it. And
earn your right.
Funny. How about yourself? Goals?
Oh,
where do you see yourself?
I've got lots. Yes. Well, I've been working on a couple pilots, so I'd like to be in a writer's room in the future. I mean, first goal is like getting an agent, finishing the web series, and I'd like to have that at least as a portfolio piece before I move anywhere, and try to get an agent, try to get into a room. Dream would be to have my show get picked up and get to do that, but that's like a dream.
Sure.
So, but I'd still like to do stand up throughout and keep doing the podcast.
Nice.
So pretty simple. Like, it's just
as long as you have a bed and a microphone.
Exactly. That's what I thought. It's a nice. There's always going to be a bed, even if I'm on the road doing stuff. There's still a bed, so I can
long as you have a bed and a microphone. It's fun. See, it sounds so much better.
Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me into your weird media bedroom, media boudoir. Cheers.
And we always say good night to everybody. So good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Adam Burke. You can catch Adam on December 17th at Comedy Clubhouse and the Aurora Roundhouse on December 22nd. Follow him on Twitter at ATP Burke. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can view more on sleepingwithsarah.com, and please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleep